Mr. Roger, thank you very much.
Its director team here: Andrew Charman, Suzanne Bradley, William Dix-Jones, Derek Wiggins, Alan Regan, Carol Regan.
The requirement sort of the Constitution became apparent last year when we got ourselves into a bit of a hole, and I don't, those of you that are in the room, I went down 2 routes last year because it wasn't clear which one, so I ended up covering ourselves off, which wasn't particularly clever. We took some advice up against that said you need to use the new Companies Act template. Our intent was to copy the old Constitution into the new template, and there were a few bits that we got wrong along the way. We reviewed it. I had that done with a legal colleague of mine at work, and that cost us a bottle of wine. So what didn't go through a formal legal review, which was sent some of the questions that were asked, you know, had this been reviewed legally? Yes, it has, but it was a bit informal because I did it at a lunchtime with a colleague, and she spent some time going through it with my lawyer at work. We published it in May, and we got some good feedback from that. It was very clear from that we needed to come back and have another run around the buoy on some key areas. So our recommendation this afternoon is that you reject this. We will, if you reject, do this. We took feedback, and the feedback broadly lines up with those key points there. In May, we're going to make an offer for members who aren't web connected to also give opportunity to feedback, because a lot of the feedback's been carried out through some of the e-groups and stuff. So we need to I need to offer that, extend that invitation in May. Well, the new team do. We're also then going to take on formal legal advice in a formal, paid-for manner. So rather than do it at a low-cost Nigel Town, Rolls-Royce colleague solution, we'll do it formally, and then we're going to republish that for ratification in 12 months' time. So that's the plan going forward if you reject this afternoon, which is what we would like you to do. So if I wrap that into a bit of another flow chart, so all members back, invitation to everybody in May, we'll consolidate that, we'll make some changes. At that point, we're looking for some help. We're looking to form a review team, a small review team that can help us refine and just test. So a peer review panel. So I'm looking for volunteers this afternoon. Our expectation was 6, so that's fine. But the idea is that this team will help peer review and make sure that we're on the right lines. Once we've gone through that box on the right-hand side there, on that middle row, we'll then go to a legal review and then go to take that forward for board agreement, publish to you, and then...
One correction with the legal review. I've identified, Rebecca and I still need to fine-tune this, but I've identified somebody in Milton Keynes, you all know that's close to where I live, who specialises in the creation of this kind of constitution. So the box that says we'll have peer review, then legal review, that may be switched round, that may, whatever, whatever makes most sense. But the guy that I'm going to suggest that we use specialises in this area. So he's a company lawyer, but he specialises in the production of articles for organisations such as ours. As was pointed out earlier, we don't set out to make a profit. I'm afraid we tend to do that, but that's not what we set out to do.
Okay, so given that our recommendation is that we reject the current constitution, the proposal this afternoon, are there questions specific to the constitution that you wish to ask at this point before I put it to you for rejection? Chris, but let's take Gordon first.
Just wanted to ask you whether this timescale creates any operating problems for the board until we've gone through this process.
The challenges that we face are the challenges that we faced previously. We'll be okay.
Thanks, Chairman. I was just going to say, Alan, if you're masterminding this process and you find you've got too many volunteers, we don't want to end up with a horse designed by a committee. So I'm sure I speak for all of us who volunteer that if you want to cut that number down, certainly for me, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Are there any other questions specific to the Constitution before I put it to you for rejection? hint.
I presume the old existing constitution stays in force until the new one is finally...
Yes, it does. So this sounds slightly strange, that I have to run this meeting in accordance with the agenda that was published and released to you back with February's SMT, which said that we put this forward for acceptance as it stands as an entity. So I'm looking for somebody to propose and somebody to second that motion. John Orson, thank you very much, and Tag Gorton. So we're recommending that this is rejected. So votes for the constitution that we sent out in February. That's a 0.
Okay.
Abstentions? 0. Pieces of paper in the airtime now. So votes no, unanimous in the room.
The reason that the voting slips have got a number on them is so that I know how many are left, ergo I know how many are here.
We're as good as unanimous. Right, so that's us dealt with on the Constitution. You're happy with the plan going forward? If you have any ideas, you've got the opportunity at the May review to feed in other ideas. So let's move on. Right, election of directors. So the first thing I need to tell you is that Tim and Helen stood down prior to this meeting. They stood back down 2-3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, yes.
They were planning to stand down anyway because they said that just the association workload was getting quite hard. There was a lot of it going on. Helen did a lot of the work, the majority of the work on the Constitution. Tim was doing a lot of the work on the website, and they said it was just taking over their lives. So they asked if they could step back. They ended up standing back prematurely because, well, they did. So that's where we are with Tim and Helen. We then need to go through a review cycle, a reappointment cycle. So the following people there: Andrew, Alan, Carol, and Rebecca are all looking for re-election. Carol and Rebecca were nominated from within the board. We can co-opt, so they were both co-opted, and they now need formal ratification. I'm looking for a block nomination for this because I don't really want to go through it 4 times. So, block proposal.
Hang on, before you go on to that, how many directors in total are you expecting to have up the end of this meeting? Because there's
Full board.
No, there's some other nominees.
Yes.
I don't know whether if those names are re-elected, would that mean that...
No.
No.
That's all I'm asking.
No. I would have done it differently if that had been the case. So, a block proposal, please. Sorry, I don't know your name, sir.
Don Wilsman.
Don
Dawn?
Wilmsma. I'm sorry, I forgot your name, sir. Mike Docker, seconded. Right, all 4, wave a piece of paper, please. Okay, thank you. Against? Abstentions? So it's plus 10 on whatever your paper count is.
Can I just ask the gentleman at the back of proposals, his surname, please?
Wilsman.
So within that, Rebecca's offered to be company secretary, picking up from Helen. We preempted this already, actually, to be honest, and Rebecca spent a day with Helen a couple of weeks ago. So I need a proposer and a seconder for that, please. Proposed by Lawrence Smith, seconded by Foss-Speed. 4. That's looking pretty good. Against? Abstentions? Plus 10 again. Right. Your question, sir. Mr. Wilsma, this is where we are now. So there's new nominations. So there's Lawrence, could you just stand up? So this is Lawrence Smith. He put his name forward to help with some of the show stuff in particular. Lawrence did a great job for us yesterday with getting Alice into the hall, and you're going to do the same again tonight to get her back out again. So that's Lawrence Smith. Thanks, Lawrence. You can sit down. Brian Dominic, can you just stand up for a sec? So Brian Dominic served on the board before. He's keen to serve again. So that's Brian Dominic. Thanks, Brian. The third name on there is Bob Kirchner. Now, this is a bit... Bob, not in the room here? No. Bob sent me a note on Tuesday saying, actually, I've had a rethink. I'm like, okay. The plan was that Bob was going to pick up some of the technical stuff that I was currently carrying. Bob gave me a kick on some of the Southern Federation stuff, said you're not moving fast enough, and I said, well, this was just after Christmas. I said, well, yeah, I'm trying, but I just don't have enough bandwidth to cope with it all. And my email back to him said, don't suppose you're going to volunteer to take it over? And he said, well, go on, I'm up for it. So that was how that nomination came around, but Bob's had a rethink. So I suggested to the board that I'm happy to continue as a technical officer, but not as a director. So that's how we're going to, that's down to the board, new board to decide and ratify, but that's the proposal at the moment. So let's just do a block nomination, please, if we can, for Lawrence and Brian. So nomination Don again, and a seconder, quite fast, get you. 4, piece of paper. Thank you. Against? There's no one. And abstentions? Is no one. So, to bring to your attention there, the last line on there which says that we're still looking for web and IT. That's to replace the stuff that Tim Gregson was doing so well for us. We have a plan for that. Tim's spoken to 2 potential candidates. We're just not ready to go with that. Our expectation is that we'll co-opt into that role once everything's all squared off. So that's the plan going forward, because you'd rightly say to me, Nigel, you just told us that our web pages are so important and they're accessed so frequently, but you haven't got an IT director. So there is a plan, but we're just not quite ready with it yet. Okay? Right. That brings us to the end of the formal meeting, which is the formally minuted AGM.
Technically, you retired.
I'm now retired, I'm done. Right. America on Monday morning on the 4 o'clock flight to, yeah, okay. That's true. That's not a joke. Right, the presentation of the Lamb Trophy. The presentation of the Lamb Trophy is made each year acknowledging significant input and effort of the year. You can read it. Those are the great and the good who have been recipients of this award previously. This year, it was unanimous when it went to the board that we're going to nominate and award that to Phil Thompson for the work he did over his many years on the board. Phil, you're not in the room, are you? Right, I'll go and nobble him on his layout in a minute. But that's the Lamb Trophy. There's we have a gift for him as well that will be presented with the trophy.